This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's number one show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock, who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors? Post-game reviews, this the place you tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.
Knicks family, what's poppin' is your boy. Ladies and gentlemen, the New York Knicks play the Charlotte Hornets tonight at 7 p.m. in Charlotte at the Spectrum Center. But the big news for today, folks, well, I guess it came out yesterday. Obi Toppin is out, and he will not be evaluated for another 2 to 3 weeks. So, Tom Thibodeau cuts down to a 9-man rotation, and it looks like, his rotation is getting comfortable. And then we get the news that Obi Toppin, in the last game, Obi Toppin hurt his leg, and the official diagnosis for Obi Toppin is a non-displaced fracture in his right fibula. So, he'll be reevaluated in 2 to 3 weeks, and we'll go from there, ladies and gentlemen. The question is, who plays in lieu of Obi Toppin? Right? I think that's the big question from everybody, because in the last postgame show, when we listened to Tom Thibodeau, and he was asked about whether or not, who might play if Obi Toppin is out for a significant amount of time, and he was kind of non-committal, but he did mention that he likes RJ at that 4 spot, which means there could be more time for RJ Barrett. I'm not exactly sure I agree with that, because now you're talking about an 8-man rotation for the next 2 to 3 weeks, probably more. Right? When you have a guy in Cam Reddish that can play that wing spot, can play the 4 spot, right? He may not be as, Obi Toppin's not that big either. Obviously, Obi Toppin can jump, but Cam Reddish can play defense. He can get some things done at that 4 spot as well. So I think that Tom Thibodeau will play Cam Reddish at that 4 spot. Regardless of what he said. But if he doesn't, then you know that you really know how he feels about Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish does not play at that 4 spot tonight. You know how he feels. Right now, RJ Barrett is averaging 33.5 minutes per game. He's not shooting efficiently. Maybe he feels that playing him these extra minutes at that 4 spot for Obi Toppin. Obi Toppin, was averaging, 15, 17 minutes a game? So you can't fit any more minutes in for, you're not going to be able to fit 17 minutes in for RJ Barrett at that spot. Obi Toppin this season has been averaging 17.1 minutes per game. RJ Barrett's averaging 33. That's 50 minutes. Okay? So, while you can play him some of those minutes maybe, you're going to have to play somebody else. Either you're going to have to spread out minutes for Deuce, right? Maybe give Jericho Sims some of those minutes. If you're not going to play Cam Reddish, but you can't give him all to RJ. If you try to give him all to RJ, you're going to, he's already not shooting efficiently. I don't know if that's going to make him shoot better. Maybe the more time would help him. I don't know. But I don't think it'd be a smart move. Play Cam at the spot. If you're not going to play Cam, then I guess, go with Jericho Sims at the 4 or Hartenstein at the 4 and Jericho Sims at the center spot. Be kind of slow and clunky, but you'd be able to rebound the basketball. So we'll see what Tom Thibodeau decides to do with that 4 spot today. I think Cam Reddish will play. You know what I mean? I think it only makes sense, and it's only a smart thing to do, is for Cam Reddish to play. So for the Knicks, Obi Toppin is out. For the Charlotte Hornets, they're banged up. LaMelo Ball is out. Obviously, you know that Miles Bridges is not playing. Gordon Hayward is out. Dennis Smith Jr. is out. So they got a lot of guys on the injury list, ladies and gentlemen, and the Knicks have got to take advantage of it. The last time they played the Charlotte Hornets, they went in overtime. We're going to talk about some of those stats a little bit later on. But they went into overtime. This is never an easy game for the Knicks, regardless of who's out there on the floor. Now they're playing in Charlotte. The Knicks have got to come prepared. They've got to come into the game with that same intensity that they've been coming into the games with. Because you don't want to lose to this basketball team. I don't want to lose to this basketball team. I don't think any of us do. Looking at your projected starting lineups for the night. For the Knicks, Jalen Brunson, Quentin Grimes, R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. And for the Charlotte Hornets, Terry Rozier, Kelly Oubre, Jalen McDaniels, P.J. Washington, and Mason Plumlee. All right. The starting lineups are clearly different for both teams. For the Knicks, you have Quentin Grimes in the starting lineup instead of Evan Fournier, which obviously is an upgrade defensively. And if Quentin Grimes plays the way he did last night, then it's an upgrade offensively as well. Or not last night, but versus the Atlanta Hawks. Because Quentin Grimes got off 23 points, a season high versus the Atlanta Hawks. And he shot efficiently, 5 for 7 from the three-point line. Right, shot a high percentage from the field overall. Now, I don't expect him to go 5 for 7 from the three-point line tonight. But a cool 38 to 40%. That's what I'm talking about. That's what you need right there. That's what you need. In the last matchup for the Knicks were led by Jalen Brunson with 27 points and 13 assists. And the Charlotte Hornets, Terry Rozier was out. LaMelo Ball was out. Dennis Smith Jr. was the guy in the lineup for them at the point guard spot. He had 14 points and 11 assists. Gordon Hayward had 21 points. He's not playing tonight. So the Charlotte Hornets are definitely hampered with injuries. And the Knicks, they should be able to take advantage of this current Charlotte Hornets team. Come away with a 3-game win streak. If the Knicks win tonight, ladies and gentlemen, they'll be back to 500. They'll have a winning record on the road. All right, and they'll move up in the Eastern Conference. Currently, in the Eastern Conference, the Knicks sit at the 9th spot. All right, if they get a win tonight, they'll be 13-13. They could, depending on what happens in the Eastern Conference, they could move all the way up to 6th or something, depending on what happens tonight and who has games. I don't even know who has games. Let's see who's playing. The Toronto Raptors are playing versus the Orlando Magic. You'd expect the Raptors to get a win. The Wizards are playing against the Pacers. Right, that should be a competitive game. There's a possibility the Wizards could beat the Pacers. And if the Wizards win that basketball game, that helps the Knicks because the Pacers are on the 6th seed, 13-12. The Hawks play the Nets tonight. Right, so if the Nets beat the Hawks, they drop to 13-13. And the Knicks could, either way, either one of these teams lose, the Knicks can gain some ground on them. So there's a lot of teams playing. There could be some movement The Knicks got to do their part. They get a win. They do their part, right? Teams above them play. The Brooklyn Nets are in the 4th seed. They're 14-12 in that 4th seed. The Atlanta Hawks, 13-12. They lose tonight to the Brooklyn Nets. If the Indiana Pacers lose tonight, if the Toronto Raptors, I doubt they're going to lose, but if they did lose tonight and the Knicks won, well, you'd be looking at the Hawks, the Pacers, and the Raptors, and the Knicks all sitting at 13-13. I don't know where they would all fall, but that's what you'd be looking at. Right now, from the 4th seed to the 9th seed to the 10th seed, the 4th seed to the 10th seed, ladies and gentlemen, is separated by 2 games. The Brooklyn Nets are in the 4th seed, and the Miami Heat are in the 10th seed. And even the 11th seed is only separated by 2.5 games. Obviously, it's early in the season, so things are going to be jumbled up. You would expect it's going to spread out as you move later on, as you move on into the season. But the teams that you see right here, I think are going to stay right here and battle it out all season long. So each game is important for each team, which means they're going to be battling it out all season long. Should be fun to watch. But anyway, there go your projected lineups. Again, for the Knicks, Jalen Brunson, Quentin Grimes, R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson. And for the Charlotte Hornets, Terry Rozier, Kelly Oubre, Jalen McDaniels, P.J. Washington, and Plumlee. Obi Toppin is out for the Knicks, if you're just joining us, ladies and gentlemen, with a non-displaced fracture in his right fibula. He'll be reevaluated in 2 to 3 weeks. For the Charlotte Hornets, LaMelo Ball is out. Gordon Hayward is out. Dennis Smith Jr. is out. So the Knicks must capitalize, ladies and gentlemen. When I look at the defensive matchups for the night, and, right here I'm going with what I think Tom Thibodeau will do. I think Tom Thibodeau will have Grimes on Terry Rozier. Right, Terry Rozier is averaging 21 points per game, shooting inefficiently from the field, but he is the guy who spearheads the team. So I think Tom Thibodeau will try to take the snake out by cutting off his head. They got some other guys that can ball, though. I hate playing the Charlotte Hornets. I just don't like the matchup for some reason. They're one of those teams that gives us fits. Like I said, last game was went into overtime. It was a high-scoring affair that went into overtime the last game. And then, I think you'll see R.J. Barrett on Kelly Oubre. Kelly Oubre is having his best year as a pro. He's averaging 20 points per game, 5.5 rebounds per game. All right, and he's a defensive guy. Kelly Oubre, can play some defense. I thought the Knicks were going to try to pick him up a couple of years ago. I was a little disappointed that they didn't, because I thought he was going to he would have been a nice fit next to R.J. Barrett at that point in time. But Kelly Oubre shooting 43.6% from the field, and he's shooting 32% from the three-point line. I mean, it's not crazy efficient, but he can ball. He can get some things done. He can play. All right, so that's going to be one of the matchups to watch tonight, R.J. Barrett and Kelly Oubre, because I think that'll be at least R.J. Barrett's defensive matchup. Kelly Oubre may be guarding Jalen Brunson, though, because they'll try to take the snake off by cutting off its head. Right? And Jalen Brunson is the brain trust of this New York Knicks starting lineup. Then I see Jalen Brunson on McDaniels, and I know there's a height mismatch, but this is the way that Tom Thibodeau's been operating and doing it, the way that he's been matching up his players. He's 6'9", 205 pounds. right? He's averaging 10.5 points per game, 4.7 rebounds. Obviously, things, players are going to switch and this and that. He shoots 45% from the field and 34.8% from three. He only takes 8.5, about 9 field goal attempts per game. So I'm thinking this is the way that Tom Thibodeau is going to go. Then you have Julius Randle on P.J. Washington, and you have Mitchell Robinson on Plumlee. Okay, now that matchup with Julius Randle and P.J. Washington, P.J. Washington normally does a good job defending Julius Randle. He's 6'7". He's averaging 15.7 points per game and 4.7 rebounds, but he does a good job defending Julius Randle, 6'7", 230 pounds. That's normally a good matchup whenever the Knicks and the Hornets play. And P.J. Washington has to guard Julius Randle. Will Julius Randle be, I'm pretty sure he's going to test it. I don't know if he's going to be as hot as he was against the Atlanta Hawks, but I'm pretty sure Julius Randle is going to test it out. He's going to test the waters just to see, if he still has it going. Because the last game, like I said, Julius Randle, ladies and gentlemen, I thought played his best floor game as a Knick. And I'm not just talking about, scoring 30 whatever points and 17 rebounds. I'm talking about the control, the decision-making. He was calm, right? He wasn't all over the place, just throwing the ball wherever, falling into double teams and traps. He played a really, really good floor game. I thought it was controlled. And I feel like that's the best game that I've seen him play as a Knick. Hopefully he can come out and repeat that performance. Even if he doesn't get 30 whatever points and 17 rebounds, and I know he put an emphasis on rebounding in the last game. He talked about it in the post game. He doesn't like his rebounding numbers so far this year. He's averaging 8.5 rebounds. So he went out and grabbed 17 of them. You heard him scream every time he grabbed a rebound, even on the free throws. And I was wondering why. Why is he screaming? What's going on? But I guess that was his way of motivating himself to grab rebounds. And we'll see if he continues to grab those kind of rebounds. And, I'm pretty sure he wants to try to get his numbers up to 10, 11 rebounds per game. The Knicks need it. They need to rebound to win. They need to grab offensive rebounds, which Mitchell Robinson is doing. He's doing a good job of it. Right? I think he had 9 rebounds last game versus the Atlanta Hawks. He had 11 rebounds altogether, I believe. And then he had 11 rebounds versus the Cleveland Cavaliers as well. Most of those were defensive rebounds. But the Knicks need Mitchell Robinson to grab offensive rebounds because they don't shoot well from the field. Then they need Julius Randle to grab defensive rebounds. So if they hold opposing teams to, a poor percentage shooting-wise, you got to grab those rebounds in order to finish off the defense. All right, so Julius Randle's put an emphasis on grabbing rebounds. We'll see how he plays tonight. If he doesn't shoot the ball well, we still need him to grab rebounds. The Knicks should have enough guys that can score the ball. I mean, Julius Randle's still going to he'll get 15 to 20. Not saying he's just going to crap out offensively, but it's not going to be as easy as it was against the Atlanta Hawks, in my opinion. P.J. Washington is, and that's supposed to be P.J. Washington, not J. Washington or P. Washington. I don't know why I put J. But, he's a tough matchup for Julius Randle, defensively. And Julius Randle's got to make sure he's getting out on the perimeter because P.J. Washington can knock down the 3-ball. The Mitchell Robinson, I'm hoping, will dominate his matchup versus Mason Plumlee. He should. Right? Not saying Mason Plumlee is not a legitimate NBA player. He is. But Mitchell Robinson should win this rebounding battle. The Knicks should win the rebounding battle tonight. I think it's a key to their success. Looking at the bench, ladies and gentlemen, the Knicks with Emmanuel Quickley, Deuce McBride, Isaiah Hartenstein, and then now the question is, will Cam Reddish play tonight? Because Obi Toppin is out. And if you haven't heard the news or you're just joining us, Obi Toppin is out for tonight's game and for the foreseeable future, for the next 2 to 3 weeks at the very least. He'll be reevaluated in the next 2 to 3 weeks. He sustained versus the Atlanta Hawks a non-displaced fracture in his right fibula. A non-displaced fracture in his right fibula. So he'll be reevaluated in the next 2 to 3 weeks, which leaves a hole in that 9-man rotation that Tom Thibodeau has been flaunting out there on the floor. So the question is, will Cam Reddish play? I mean, he's the likely guy to fill that 4 spot. Maybe not as big as Obi Toppin, not as athletic for sure. Well, let me just say he can't jump as high as Obi because he is athletic, Cam Reddish. But he can fill that spot. So the question is, will he play? Because when asked about it in the postgame on Wednesday, Tom Thibodeau said he was non-committal, but he did mention RJ's name. That he likes putting RJ at the power forward spot. He feels it can be effective. So you'll probably see RJ play some of that spot today. Even if Cam Reddish does play, I think you'll see RJ play some of that spot. So that's the big question coming into tonight. What happens with Cam Reddish? For the Charlotte Hornets, they got McGowans, Theo Maledon, Kai Jones, Nick Richards. Listen, I think the Knicks bench should win this matchup. Right, this bench, Emmanuel Quickley, he can go off for 20 at any time. If Cam Reddish plays, he can go off for 20. I wouldn't expect it from Deuce or Ihart, but Ihart can give you some rebounds. Obviously, Deuce can give you some defense and knock down a shot here or there. So when you look at these numbers that you see on the screen, it's not indicative of the guys you see on the screen, because for the Knicks, those numbers include Derrick Rose some. They also include Obi Toppin. Right? So these numbers change a little bit. The point production probably goes down. The rebounding, I would say, remains the same because Emmanuel Quickley does a good job hitting the boards. Hartenstein does a good job hitting the boards. Miles McBride, he can rebound a little bit. The defense, I think, gets better because you got Miles McBride in there for the Knicks bench we're talking about. All right, those assist numbers, and we're talking in time right now. Those assist numbers maybe stay the same. Deuce had 6 assists, and maybe they go up. He had 6 assists the other night. Emmanuel Quickley is going to get you 4 to 5 assists. All right, if Cam Reddish does play in that lineup, Cam Reddish doesn't rebound as much or grab assists. He can play defense. And he can have a hot night from time to time. Now, you look at this lineup, if Cam Reddish does play up Quickley, McBride, and Reddish, that's a nice defensive lineup right there. And then Ihart out there on the floor. And you're going to have another person, whoever you choose to throw out there. Maybe it's Randall. Maybe RJ's out there as well. You got to have 5 on the floor. But with Deuce and Reddish in the lineup together, and quickly, because quickly's been playing good defense, you can put, with this bench unit, you can put a formidable defensive lineup on the floor. So I would expect the defense of this bench unit to get better, continuously get better, if this lineup remains the same. All right. But we'll see what Tom Thibodeau decides to do with Cam Reddish tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Again, you look at this bench unit, though, they're not shooting the three well, 31.4% from three for this bench unit. They're not shooting the ball from the field well, 43.6% from the field. The Hornets bench is shooting 33% from three and 46% from the field. So, the Knicks, this bench has got to play defense. And whoever else is out there with them, whichever other starter is out there with them, they got to be ready to play some D. The last time the Knicks and the Hornets played, the game went into overtime. The Knicks won the game 134-131. Had 46 rebounds. They won the rebounding battle. The Charlotte Hornets, like I said, it's always a tough matchup. The Knicks and the Hornets, it's always a tough matchup for the Knicks. The last time they played, the Charlotte Hornets won the assist matchup, 31 assists, and it's their style of play, in my opinion. They were led by DSJ in that department. I think he had 11 assists that night. No DSJ tonight for the Charlotte Hornets, though. All right, DSJ had 11 assists. Mason Plumlee had 4 assists. Gordon Hayward had 4 assists. They had guys, a couple of guys throughout the game, dropping a couple of dimes. Theo Maledon had 4 assists. He had 15 points that game, Theo Maledon did. All right, the Knicks turned the ball over a little bit more than you want them to, 16 turnovers. And, the Knicks right now are averaging like 14 turnovers a game. Part of that is due to a higher pace. They're playing at a higher pace. In the pace category, the New York Knicks are just above the Charlotte Hornets. I think the Knicks are 15 and the Hornets are 16th in pace. The Knicks shot well from the field, 53% from the field, 36% from the three-point line, 86% from the free throw line. The Hornets, though, they shot 49% from the field, and they shot 41.9% from the three-point line. They only took 31 threes, though. They made 13 of them. The Knicks, on the other hand, were 11 for 30. But they can shoot, ladies and gentlemen. P.J. Washington, we talked about him earlier. Julius Randle will be guarding P.J. Washington. P.J. Washington was 4 for 8 from the three-point line. And then Jalen McDaniels was 3 for 3 from the three-point line. He had 17 points the last time the Knicks played the Charlotte Hornets. Theo Maledon was 2 for 2. James Bouknight got some playing time the last time they played. He played 17 minutes. He was 2 for 5 from the three-point line, and he had 13 points. He hasn't really been playing much. We'll see if he plays tonight. So the Knicks have got to guard the three-point line and not let him get off. Julius Randle's got to guard the line. Can't let P.J. Washington get off. Kelly Oubre, he's not shooting that well, 31% from the three-point line. R.J. Barrett can't let him get off. Whoever's guarding Jalen McDaniels can't let McDaniels get off, and that's Jalen Brunson. That's going to be an issue. If Jalen Brunson is guarding McDaniels, that's going to be an issue because he can shoot over Jalen Brunson. So, it's going to be interesting to see the way Tom Thibodeau works these lineups. He's been putting Jalen Brunson on, the guy in the lineup that doesn't score the most. Whichever wing scores the least or isn't your best offensive player, that's who Jalen Brunson normally guards. So I wouldn't expect him to guard Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier is fast. I wouldn't expect him to guard Kelly Oubre. So it's probably going to be Jalen McDaniels. So Brunson's going to have to, get up in him tight. Crowd his space. Try not to let him get into a shooting motion because he can knock down the three clearly. So the Knicks can't let these guys get loose from the three-point line, or it could be a long one. Plus, they're at home. They start knocking down some threes, then the crowd gets into it. Boom. It's a tougher game than you want it to be. All right, but this was the last matchup. The Knicks are up 1-0 over the Charlotte Hornets so far this season. The Knicks are 12-13 on the season. We just talked about the standings and where, what the Knicks could do tonight if they're able to get a win. And if some other teams take a loss, the Knicks could move up in the standings. They're currently 9th in the Eastern Conference. I mean, they could move up to 5th or 6th in the Eastern Conference, depending on what happens to everybody else. That's how tight it is in the Eastern Conference. That's how tight it is. So they've got to, they got to do their job tonight and get a win. The Philadelphia 76ers are 12-12. I didn't mention them earlier. They play tonight versus the Lakers. I would expect them to get a win versus the Lakers tonight. But if somehow all these teams took a loss that were ahead of the Knicks and the Knicks won, then obviously the Knicks would move up in the standings, right? They'd move up to, 5th or 6th placed in the Eastern Conference. So we'll see what happens there. But the Knicks coming to the game averaging 113.6 points per game, 47 rebounds, 23.6 assists. Again, I want to emphasize these rebounds. The Knicks have got to rebound the ball. It's how they win. Right? Anytime the Knicks get beat on the boards, they have a hard time winning, or they just lose. The last 2 games, they've held their teams to under 40 rebounds. The Cleveland Cavaliers, the Atlanta Hawks, while the Knicks dominated the glass. They need to do it again. They need to dominate the glass, ladies and gentlemen. 7 steals, 4.5 blocks for the Knicks, 14 turnovers, 45% from the field, and 32% from 3. The Hornets, 109.6 points per game, 45 rebounds a game, 25 assists. Obviously, without LaMelo Ball, those assist numbers are down. You would expect that the Hornets tonight, because there's no DSJ, no LaMelo Ball, right? They may be more of a isolation team tonight than normal, right? Terry Rozier, while he can get the ball, he can have nights where he, piles up some assists, but more than not, he's an isolation guy. Kelly Oubre, isolation guy. Although he can play, he played with the Golden State Warriors, and he's learned how to play a more unselfish game. He can play unselfishly. But those assist numbers, I wouldn't expect them to have 31 assists tonight, unless they're just super hot from the field. They shoot 44.7% from the field on the season and 32.4% from 3 on the season. Where the Knicks have an advantage, I think they should have more depth if it's needed. I think defensively, the Knicks, at least as of late, have been playing better defense. Right, the last few games, the Knicks have. The second half of the Dallas Mavericks game was terrible, but before then, versus the Trailblazers, versus Memphis, versus Milwaukee, they've been playing good defense. Right, and now that they've shortened the lineup, they've been playing very good defense. They held Cleveland to 81 points. They held Atlanta to 89 points. I'm not expecting them to hold the Hornets to below 90, but I'm expecting the defense to play well. So I do give the Knicks the edge defensively. Although the way Charlotte has played the Knicks in the past, it's still going to be a tough one, ladies and gentlemen. Still going to be a tough one. So if you're just joining us, folks, Obi Toppin is out. Right? Obi Toppin is out. He'll be out for 2 to 3 weeks. For the Charlotte Hornets, LaMelo Ball is out. Gordon Hayward is out. DSJ is out. All right, so they're banged up. And you're talking about 2 starters being out for the Charlotte Hornets. LaMelo Ball's been out a while. Gordon Hayward is always in and out of the lineup. All right, so, and then obviously Miles Bridges is not there. Right, this is a much different team. If LaMelo Ball's there, Gordon Hayward is there, Bridges is there, which he probably will never return to Charlotte, at least not this season. But when those guys are there, this is a much better team. But the Knicks play who's in front of them. They got to take care of business tonight. No excuses. You gotta win. I'm expecting the Knicks to win. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I expect them to win tonight with a team that's beat up. Key matchup, I think the key matchup tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is Jalen Brunson and Terry Rozier. Right? That's my key matchup for tonight. And the reason why that's my key matchup is because those guys are both they're the engine of their respective teams. Jalen Brunson is clearly the engine for the Knicks, and Terry Rozier, he's the engine for the Charlotte Hornets. So this is the matchup. Although they won't guard each other much, they may not guard each other much. Let me say that. I don't want to say won't, because I don't know which way Tom Thibodeau is going to go with the defensive matchups. Right? But they may not guard each other much. At times they will, right? There's going to be, they're going to match up. But Jalen Brunson is averaging 21 points a game, 3.4 rebounds, 6.2 assists, shooting 47% from the field, and he's up to 33.3% from the three-point line. Terry Rozier, 21 points, 21.7 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, 5.8 assists. He's shooting 39.6% from the field, 30.9% from three, and 82.4% from the free throw line. Similar numbers. Jalen Brunson is better from the field than Terry Rozier, but of course Terry Rozier has, some, that speed and maybe some defense on Jalen Brunson. But, this right here are the engine. These are the engines of the two teams, in my opinion. And, Jalen Brunson, what I like with the Knicks is that if Jalen Brunson doesn't have it going, Julius Randle can get it going. Hopefully R.J. Barrett can get it going. We'll see what Quentin Grimes can do. He played well against the Atlanta Hawks. Let's see if he can continue to play well. See if he's played well. See if he can continue to shoot well. 23 points versus the Atlanta Hawks. Other matchups, though, Kelly Oubre and R.J. Barrett. I think that's going to be a matchup to watch. Kelly Oubre is averaging 20 points per game, career best. Not shooting efficiently from the field, but that's his career best. R.J. Barrett, though, still struggling a little bit. I asked Tony the other day, Tony Crow, if he's worried about R.J. Barrett, and he said, yeah, he's a little bit worried about him because it's taking him a long time to come out of it. So far, he's shooting 40% from the field and 28.5% from the three-point line. He's averaging 18 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 2.8 assists per game. He should be able. He and Kelly Oubre will probably offset each other, unless one of them has an explosive night. Then you got Julius Randle. Right, Julius Randle is coming off of a really big game versus the Atlanta Hawks. Right, 37 points, I think it was, 17 rebounds. Right, really good basketball game, 0 turnovers. Got to make sure you throw that in there because he's averaging 3 of them on the season. right? So that was a really good game. 34 points, not 37. 34 points, 17 rebounds, and 5 assists for Julius Randle in the last game. He was 6 for 12 from the three-point line, 8 for 8 from the free throw line, and 52.6% from the field overall. And he took one enormous heat check in that game. On the season, Randle, 21.6 points per game, 8.8 rebounds, 3.5 assists, shooting 46.4% from the field and 33.7% from the three-point line. All right, he's having a good season so far. Defensively, he's been up and down, and he's going to have to be on the upswing tonight, playing against P.J. Washington, because P.J. Washington can knock down threes. Again, he was, he was 4 for 8 from the three-point line the last time we played the Charlotte Hornets. So the Knicks, I believe, have the ability to win more matchups than the Charlotte Hornets tonight. And I think the Knicks win the bench unit. So I'm predicting that the Knicks will win tonight versus the Charlotte Hornets, ladies and gentlemen. You know, Billy the Goat, or Billy Goat, said Jalen Brunson is going to have to man up against Terry Rozier because McDaniels is just too tall. I get it. I understand it. And if it were me, I would just have them match up. But Tom Thibodeau hasn't done it. That's not what he's been doing with Jalen Brunson. You know what I mean? It's not what he's been doing. He's been, he's been putting Jalen Brunson on the guy who scores the least in the lineup or the least scoring threat or whatever you want to say. You know what I mean? Although McDaniels had a good game against us last time. Knocked it down from 3. And if Jalen Brunson is guarding him, he can shoot over top of Jalen Brunson. You know what I mean? And that's where the concern comes in for me, that he can shoot over top of him. You know what I'm saying? We'll see the way that they decide to match it up, ladies and gentlemen. Or Tom Thibodeau decides to match it up. But it should be a good one. It's normally a good one between the Knicks and the Hornets. I don't, like I say, I always hate the matchup because for some reason, they just always seem to have the Knicks number. But I do expect the Knicks to get a win tonight on the road, improve their record to 7-6. Expect them to get a win. They are a team that's, banged up. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to head up out of here because I got to get to my own basketball game. All right, we play at 5:15. We got to get to the gym an hour early so we can start warm-ups and all that kind of stuff. So I got to get ready to get to the gym. So I appreciate your time. I will be on tonight. It'll be a little bit later than I'll probably go on about 11 o'clock because, I got my game and then we're going to watch the boys' game. You know what I mean? And then I'll come home and do the post-game show. I'll be watching the Knicks at the gym. All right? So I'll go on a little bit later tonight, probably 11 o'clock or so. So, folks, I will see you tonight. The game starts at 7 o'clock. All right, from the Spectrum Center in Charlotte. Make sure you watch the game, earlier than usual. Normally the Knicks start, if they're on the East Coast, start at 7:30. Just a few teams. The Wizards, the Hornets, they normally start at around 7. So make sure you check that game out tonight. I'll be on about 11 o'clock tonight to do the post-game show. And, yeah, I'll see you then. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll talk to you later. Peace.
This is NBK, nothing but Knicks. When Sim passed the assist, you know that it's #1 show that breaks down the game. If you can't play defense, stay out my way. Dribble the ball, come down the lane. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Who gon' win us the game? You wanna hear Nick updates and trade rumors, post-game reviews, this the place to tune in. So tell a friend just to keep the ball moving. Like the page if you feeling the movement. Every game we coming to win. Give us a sub like a player that came off the bench. This is NBK, nothing but Knicks.